All right, everyone. I am excited. This is Infan Akpan, the professor. I am an actual professor, assistant professor of accounting. As promised, we're here at Cobbs Capital. We've got them in the house. I'll let you do your introduction, and we're going to talk about the metaverse today. So please tell them about yourself, who you are, what's going on.
So my name is Deza. Also, my real name is Michael. I'm a content creator for Cobbs Capital. I handle all the stuff that comes with cryptocurrencies and NFTs and the whole blockchain space. It's a greatly expanding space right now, and we're trying to make our way in, through it. We're trying to make a ground hold for it, make sure we're part of it because we do enjoy this space. And when it comes to finance and stuff, and we help some people with Cobbs Capital. We have a Discord. You can join up, learn information, learn how to trade, get better at trading, all that kind of good stuff, and learn about the cryptocurrencies and NFTs. And yeah, that's about it. Just great financial content.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Came in at the right time. He just introduced himself. We're doing a little intro. Frank, can you tell them about yourself?
Yeah, definitely. So, me and Deja, me and Mike, we are partners at Cobbs Capital. What I do a lot of options trading with stocks, but also too, I invest heavily in cryptocurrency. And I'm new to NFTs, but I am getting more and more, to the intermediate and advanced levels with it. So I am learning a lot about that with the help of Deja, of course. And away from that, just, in general, I would say I've been involved with the stock market since high school, even before high school, just learning about how to invest, learning about going, into long-term, even medium-term investing and stuff like that. And then I would say once I got into college, university, that's when I really started learning how to trade. And yeah, the rest is kind of history. I really just started learning how to trade, getting really good at that. And then I really found out what options could do in terms of boosting your portfolio value. And yeah, so.
This is awesome. So I'm just curious. Are you more focused on the stock side of things or on the crypto side of things?
Definitely more stocks. Or if I would,
he's more stocks and yeah. I'm more crypto.
Definitely.
Okay, that's definitely good. So you got both sides covered.
Absolutely. And not that I'm not into crypto, because I am into crypto heavily, but I do like I said, I trade options and I do, get involved with stocks quite often. So every day I'm literally I'll hit up Mike and I'll say, hey, I'm trading my options today. I did this trade, I did that trade. So I'm
also the same way. I mean, I entered my, financial journey through stock options and regular, stocks and options and stuff. And then I came across cryptocurrency, and I was like, "This is the one for me. I like this stuff. This is it."
But that's good. That's good. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming and to talk about something near and dear to me, and then that's really been out there, and that is the metaverse.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us, Professor. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
Hey, my pleasure. So what's your take? Let's talk about it. What's your take on the metaverse?
I'll let the expert, I'll let our resident Cobbs Capital expert take this one away.
So when it comes to the metaverse, you kind of want to start by understanding what it is. I mean, it's not too far-fetched to say that it's pretty much just, a virtual world like you would see in movies, right? It's some heavy, sci-fi things because, a company like Facebook, which is now Meta, is getting into it, but they're far off from being able to actually implement it on a day-to-day basis. And we see things like, we're on StreamYard right now, and, Facebook has their own, version of that. I forget the name of it, but it might have been called offices or something, or communities. But it's the first steps in you're going into a world, a virtual world, and you can move and interact, and like you could turn and have facial expressions and stuff, and it's kind of just like digitizing yourself. So what, an easy way to look at it is we like to look at the gaming side of it, because I think that's going to be the place where a lot of focus and attention is made. And on the gaming side of it, like a lot of people reference like Ready Player One, that's a movie where that's what it would look like. It's just an open, operable world. There's a lot of things you can do inside of it. And when it comes to the metaverse, there are some companies that are starting to, make that stronghold and be the top dogs for the next few years of the metaverse. And I would say Decentraland, Sandbox, those are the top two. I'll say those are the top two. I don't really have a third one that I could say, but there are others as well. We got Somnium, things like that. But those are the top two right now. They're definitely pulling in the most money. They got the most heads turning. Their cryptocurrency is doing well. So
yeah. And I would actually say over on my end, when I think about the metaverse, on top of already what Mike kind of already said, I would say that for me, the metaverse is just a way for people to be able to kind of I would say it's the future of business. It's the future of offering different services, and in general, it's just the future of entertainment and the future of just, I wouldn't say necessarily living, but it's the future of just kind of getting away from what your regular daily life will be. Because if we see already a lot of what the metaverse companies can do, and even not just with the metaverse, but a lot of the times with NFTs, like for instance, we just dropped an NFT video where Gary Vee, if you've heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, he's doing like an NFT restaurant where you could kind of go into the restaurant, you can buy the NFT and you'll have like a somewhat of like a lifetime membership and be able to just have like a whole bunch of different meetings with people and just, have, fun there. But of course, that's going to move on to the metaverse too. But also as well, if we look at different things that have been going on in the Decentraland or even in Sandbox, we've heard of Snoop Dogg concerts going on. We've heard of different people being able to present their art galleries there. We've just been having different meetups within the metaverse. And I think that's just a way for people to be able to say, hey, yeah, we can do this, in a, real life experience type of way, or we can do this in a virtual way where one, it'll be a lot more cost efficient for our business and for you as well too. But it'll also be a way to connect a lot faster and a lot, I would say, more in depth and more meaningful than you would, if you were to just text somebody or DM somebody or just try to meet them, on social media or something like that. And I think that the metaverse in that aspect is really just going to change how we're really thinking about everything going into the future, because a lot of people could just offer what they really have or what they would like to benefit from, or what the people would like to receive on the consumer end of things, and just say, hey, this is going to be something that I really can use and I can really just get away from my regular life, going to the metaverse. I can say, for instance, I could go play games with my friends. I could go shopping if I need to, because we've seen the Walmart shopping where they, go into the metaverse and order stuff and just kind of go grocery shopping from their couch. Or I could go have a concert, with Snoop Dogg at 5 p.m. and then, take off my goggles, take off whatever it is, and then I could go back to work later on that evening or whatever. So, yeah.
That is you made a good point. And here's my question. So we've got the crypto expert there, and you mentioned Decentraland. I've been in there. The Sandbox, I've been in there. And the biggest question that I have, especially in the Sandbox, and I recommend anybody, take a trip to the Sandbox, go on OpenSea and look at the assets. Who has the money? Because you mentioned those tickets to Snoop Dogg's to get into his parties and things. These are thousands upon thousands of dollars. Land, people are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in crypto, right? In sand to buy land, to buy items. So where's this money, and where would the regular person be able to get into this?
So, right. So I think it's about it's about investing, right? So you're right. I'll just correct you on one thing. You don't have to buy a ticket into like a concert or anything like that. But if you do want to own land, you have to buy the land as an NFT. So it's an investment. You have to think about it as a parallel to the real world. Because if you buy real estate in the real world, all right, it's gonna, you build it up, it provides you value. It's the same thing with the land in these games. I recently bought a land for another metaverse type world. It was called World Wide Web Land. And I bought one of their apartments. I think I bought it for like 0.6 Ethereum, maybe like that at the time. Maybe it was like what, $2,000. And then it shot all the way up to like 1.6 Ethereum, right? So it grew in value as more people, get into the space, as more people find out about it, as more people want to enjoy it, whatever company that has this virtual land provides. So you don't want to just buy land from anywhere, but you don't want to just buy any type of NFT, right? But when it comes to the virtual land, I said at first, like, you don't want to buy land from anywhere. It's so early that pretty much almost any metaverse land that you get into will most likely go up in value. It's not financial advice, but for the most part, like, if you look at a company, you like what they're doing, they seem to have like an upward trajectory. They have good people behind them, good CEOs, good devs, all that. It's a good investment. You'll most likely, it's so early that you'll most likely make some money. Not financial advice, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. And definitely to kind of add on top of that too, from like the stock perspective, right? So if we're talking about the metaverse and who could get in and who could buy it, it's the same question as, okay, well, like if you were to look at Tesla stock, something that, recently it's been falling quite a lot, or even Amazon stock where it's like thousands of dollars to buy in. And most people are like, okay, I can't really afford that. But if you think about the early days of it, when Amazon was like $20, Tesla was around $100 or something like that. Well, maybe people go out every weekend or so, they go out, party with their friends, they might go to the restaurant. You're easily spending $200-$300 already at minimum. And it's just like, okay, who has that money? Well, if you save it for 2-3 weekends, maybe you can get yourself a nice NFT that might, for instance, give you access to the metaverse. Or for instance, we also did a link style video, which is like a golf club type of membership. And whether or not they get into the metaverse, we'll see. But it's, a really unique idea where, for instance, for this golf club membership, you could, have your nice membership. It's costing around, I think, maybe $6,000, $7,000, something like that for a lifetime membership. Whereas, a regular traditional golf club membership might cost you $30,000 each year, something of that nature at the low end of things.
Yeah,
exactly.
Link style, they're doing some great stuff. They're partnered with like Steph Curry and stuff. And yeah, it's a golf club membership, but as an NFT, it's lifetime. You could trade it to someone else. Like,
absolutely,
it's like the blockchain is going to be the way that business is done, because it's so much more fluid, and the potential for gains is so much higher.
Exactly.
Exactly. Like, why would I buy a regular golf membership when I can get this lifetime golf membership with this NFT and then have the ability to sell it later? You can't sell a golf,
or you can lease it out too. You can lease it out. You can rent it to people, and I think that's where the utility and the value comes from when you talk about who can afford the metaverse. Because at the rip, it could be very expensive for a good amount of people, especially too for people who are average workers earning minimum wage. But when you think about, okay, this is going to be a longer term investment. Well, if this is a longer term investment that you're expecting to pay dividends in one way or one form or another, then you're going to say, okay, I'm going to save up some money. And I'm going to go buy this, and I'm going to see what happens, later on as the metaverse continues to develop, as this space continues to develop, as this project continues to develop. And I think that's the way a lot of people kind of, miss this thing, because they say, like we see all the memes all the time, right? We see, some 19-year-old kids, I'm sitting here working like a 9-to-5 job, and some 19-year-old kids sold like a meme, like not even a meme, sold like some JPEG for like 2.9 million or, something like that.
Yeah.
But the reality is, if you really think about, exactly, it is up to chance. But if you think about it, a lot of these people, they did go into it thinking, okay, this is going to be some type of investment where I have to put my money at stake. And whether it's stocks, whether it's crypto, whether it's the metaverse, NFTs, investments are inherently risky. I do it every day when I trade. You have to risk something to be able to make some money. So the people who can afford it are just going to be those who are able to take on that risk and are who are able to say, okay, I can't allocate this amount of money that maybe I would have used elsewhere or just, squandered elsewhere, and I can put it here and see what happens with that. And I think that's actually a really good thing that people can start thinking about, because it's just like, not everything is going to just cost thousands and thousands of dollars. I'm not saying every $10 project is going to blow up and just make you, a millionaire, or even a couple $100,000, but you can start looking into say, okay, well, if I save up, a couple $100 each week or from each paycheck, or for instance, like people, when they got back their government checks and they were saying, okay, I have the Biden checks, I'm doing everything with the STEMIs, a lot of people, they just went out and spend them, but you could have taken a portion of that money and, gone and spent it.
A lot of people put that check straight into NFTs or cryptocurrency. And a lot of people want that, That's 1,400, stimulus check. 6 or 7 months ago, however long that was ago, maybe 8 months ago now.
Yeah, it was a long time ago now.
That was really before the bubble, like, you know, started to burst. That was really before the bubble started to burst. And yeah, a lot of people, you know, made off like bandits. They made off like bandits with off that 1400.
People were riding the wave, but I still, hey, Rule, I still say that with the NFT, you made a good point about Tesla, about how it started off a couple of $100 and now it's in the thousands of dollars. But what I mean is, you go to the sandbox, you see the land. It's not a couple of $100.
That's true.
Tens of thousands of dollars to millions of dollars.
But that's true. That's the thing. Hold on, Frank. I got it. Because
okay.
You got to think about when these things started. You know, Decentraland and Decentraland has been out for a while. The plots weren't always that expensive. You know, it just like, you know, one of the biggest ones, Bored Ape Yacht Club. You know, when I first started with NFTs, Bored Ape Yacht Club was like maybe around 2 or 3 ETH, but I didn't see the vision of what it really could be. And now you're not getting the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Like, okay, let's say that was like, you know, $8,000, $9,000. You're not getting the Bored Ape Yacht Club now unless you got a couple hundred racks.
That's true.
It's the same thing with the plots of land. In the beginning, they were around like that much price. They were around like 2 ETH. You know, I could have got one by myself. Yeah. But I didn't just see the trajectory of what the land could go.
Yep,
it took off. It took off for sure.
That's true.
And I think I think it has more room to grow too. So the price that you're gonna get now, I don't even think it's that expensive.
Yeah, and also really actually to literally just to kind of emphasize that last point that Deja just made, when you think about traditional real estate, right? When you get into traditional real estate, you automatically have to have good credit. You have to have, you know, some form of saying, hey, you know, I've had this job for this long. I live where I live. And, you know, depending on how good your credit is, I would say pretty much you're probably going to put down 15 to 20, maybe even 25% down, you know, until the total of what you might pay. And then of course you're going to pay that off over the course of time that you actually have to get this land that you're going to have. And that doesn't even include, you know, are you going to renovate this land? Do you have to make any repairs? Do you have to hire contractors? What kind of materials do you need for who you're going to rent it out to? All these different things and costs that go into it. Whereas if I go to the metaverse, right? Maybe let's say on the low end, right? Because the low end, I would say if I go into Sandbox to Decentraland, I'll probably find something for anywhere from 10 to 15,000. Well, that 10 to 15,000, I could get a decent amount of real estate, not necessarily like a huge plot or anything, but I could get, you know, a decent location, maybe near, you know, a nice name brand or something. And I could really build that up into my own where people are passing through it quite often. But that's it. I don't have to renovate it. I don't have to, you know, get taxed on it. I mean, you know, I'm saying like when I actually like get into it, like, of course you have to pay like, you know, the actual taxes afterward. But I mean, like when you actually get into it and, you know, a lot of other things that will actually go into traditional real estate, which actually make it really expensive to kind of bar out a good amount of people from getting into traditional real estate or anything like that. You don't really have to have that when you go into the metaverse and buy this. And a lot of, you know, big companies are already like literally just scooping up all the land. We've seen Atari, we've seen Coinbase, we've seen Gemini, we've seen Binance, we've seen so many companies really just buying it up because I think they already know that, okay, this is going to be huge. We need to get it now before this is really, really expensive. And that's why it goes back to Tesla, because even now I've been monitoring Tesla since maybe 2018. And I remember when people were like, oh, it'll never get to $1,000 per share. Got to $1,000 per share. People were like, okay, now it'll never get to like $2,000 per share. Got to 2,000 and then the stock split. And, you know, it just keeps on increasing in value. And not saying that Tesla isn't a bad company. I love Tesla. You know, everything Elon's doing, I think is great. But it's just like when you see them really, you know, making strides and really bringing value to the customers and bringing value to the investors, that's when a lot of stuff starts happening on the back end. And I think for the metaverse, a lot of stuff is already happening on the back end, but it's just no value really there to kind of say, hey, this is what's happening. This is what the future value will be. Besides, you know, right now, like you already mentioned, it's quite expensive to kind of get in, at least for the average person. So a lot of people are kind of, you know, like, oh, they're off put by that, I would say. But like I said, I think, you know, just that current barrier to entry, that's fairly low compared to what it will be. Let's say, give it 3 years, give it 5 years. I think this is nothing compared to what we'll be seeing soon.
Wow. So you said it's nothing. Oh, Rule in the chat, there's a message. There's some lands on other platforms like Cardano and some others that may be cheap enough for folks to afford to lower risk.
Exactly. I could list you off a bunch of different spaces. There's Somnium, there's World Wide Web Land, there's Crypto Voxels. I mean, there's a lot of even newer NFTs that are coming out with their own form of land. Artifact Studios, they came out with pods that you could go into and design.
So lovely.
So just like Frank was saying, like you want to get into one of these metaverses that you see upside potential with, that has, just like Tesla, that has like a good team behind it that is working to provide that value. If you don't want to, pay the big bucks for the ones that are already established. So if you want to get something that's newer, up and coming, but understand there is going to be risk to that, because with anything, just like with anything.
Well, you made a great point about the Bored Ape Yacht Club. So let me ask you this: is it? And this is I read something on this. Is the value really in the NFT, or is it in the Discord, the network that you get access to by having the NFT?
The value of Bored Ape Yacht Club is a tricky one. I think it's almost it's kind of tricky, but on the 2 points that you mentioned, the NFT itself has value. Like anything has value if people say it does. Just like Pokemon cards, they're not valuable to you. I mean, maybe you like Pokemon. I don't know. They're definitely not valuable to me. I don't think like that. So the Bored Ape Yacht Club is kind of at this point like a status symbol. It's one of the OG. It's one of the OG NFT projects. So that having it lets you know, like, hey, I've been in the community, I've been doing this thing. And then the network of people that came with it is also great. And they have been taking steps to provide value to the people. They've been partnering with other companies. They actually have their own spot in the Central Land that you can go visit. What else have they done? They have a video game that they created. They actually had like a thing for all Bored Ape Yacht Club holders. They had a party where they invited like Lil Baby and some other rappers and stuff.
Because Lil Baby is a member.
So you have to create value with your NFT. And at this point, like when it was like the gold rush for NFTs and everyone was just buying anything they saw, the difference now is that you can't just create an NFT and think you can create the value later. You have to have it's like a real deal business now. You have to have a game plan. You have to have your website. You have to have a roadmap of what you're going to do, what things you're going to implement. And honestly, it goes even deeper than that, because unless you have something that people can utilize on a day-to-day basis, the chances that you're going to be Bored Ape Yacht Club is not there, because Bored Ape Yacht Club doesn't have anything that you can do with it on the day-to-day basis like these metaverses. Like these metaverses, you can go in, you can interact, you can buy stuff. Bored Ape Yacht Club is just pretty much that. It's just the NFT. So they got lucky. They became like the Gucci or the
definitely.
Dior.
There's something there up there. They're losing time something.
So now any company that comes afterwards or comes in 2022, you have to have a game plan. It's not as simple as just throwing out my art. No, you have to have a game plan. Unless you're going to be because there is a whole side of NFTs that people don't realize that is just like a real deal artist or one of one artist. Like that still has to permeate. There's still NFT music, things like that, and all of this stuff is gonna breed the ground for the metaverse for sure. This trade of stuff, trading in art, trading in business, trading in gaming, NFTs, community, all this is gonna help build the metaverse for sure.
Yeah, and I really like that question too, Professor, because when you think about a lot of these NFTs that come out, for instance, not everybody's a Beeple. You're not going to make some art that's just really groundbreaking that Christie's or Sotheby's is going to say, oh yeah, we're going to sell this to our investors for millions of dollars. And like Dave's already mentioned, not to say that the gold rush can't come again, because this is a mainstream adoption that we're seeing just yet. We're so early into the NFT.
I think only like 1 to 5% of people own NFTs.
Exactly. So we still have yet to see what will really happen with the space. But as of now, for the people that are more experienced than have been into it, it's no longer just, hey, I'm gonna make a JPEG. Hey, I'm gonna hop on, Adobe Photoshop or Microsoft Paint and just make something that looks unique, or make even, some type of generative art where the AI kind of creates something that I can sell it. Because a lot of people, they do want utility, but even on the utility side of things, I've been in Discords where, they say, hey, we have, this celebrity who's doing this, or, this person is going to make sure that all the money goes to this, charity or this fund, and it's allocated here. And at the end of the day, it just falls apart because that's not really the truth. Because a lot of the time when they do get that money, they just kind of say, okay, we're out. We'll see you later.
Yeah, it's not a good business plan either.
It's not a good business plan. And then it's just kind of shaky because it's just like the people at the top say, hey, I'm backing this. And once they get the money, they say, okay, well, I'll let whoever else is, kind of beneath me, I'll let them deal with the repercussions and just kind of figure out what the community is going to do. Because a lot of the times when you do see these Discord communities, a lot of them are in shambles, to be, quite frank. So,
pump and dumps.
Yeah,
it's called pump and dumps.
They are pump and dumps. Yeah.
On that note, here's this. This is I'm pulling out the accounting side of my brain. So there's something called going concern. Mm-hmm. So we've been talking the metaverse. We've been talking about Decentraland, the sandbox. So from what I understand, they're offshore. These are offshore businesses.
No.
Is that correct?
Some of
them. Yeah,
sure. I would say are in different countries. Some of them in the U.S.
Yeah, I think a good amount, at least. I would say some of the more at least the ones that are like directly tied to celebrities are definitely, within the US, because they're using either their brand or the companies or their firms to kind of build up the NFT, build up the hype. And I think probably, the smarter people or the people who have, more knowledge as to, how the taxes and business side of things will work would have that offshore. But yeah.
All right. Let me backtrack and rephrase.
Okay.
To your knowledge, are any of and I'm taking Meta out of the equation. Mm-hmm. But when we talk about Decentraland, when we talk about the sandbox, they're not publicly traded.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
No.
So their financials we're not privy to their financials.
Correct.
So going concern means what happens? They go out of business. What happens to the crypto? What happens to the assets? What happens to the land? If they just say, okay, is that what you call a rug pull?
If they go out of business, if they go out of business, I wouldn't really consider it a rug pull. But with those companies like Sandbox and Decentraland, like it's kind of like saying, if it's kind of tough. It like if you said,
I would say if we're talking about Sandbox, right? If you're talking about like Sandbox or Decentraland going out of business, that would be similar to, at least in my opinion, I would say that's similar to saying like, what if YouTube went out of business? Because Decentraland and Sandbox themselves, they're not necessarily offering, direct services. More or less, okay, you can build on our platform and then do what you want on our platform as long as you adhere to our guidelines. That's what I would think. Now, for the individual projects, once those kind of like, mess up and stuff, that's a different story. That's, kind of where it gets into the rug pull category. Not saying that if they do go out of business, that's a rug pull, because, sometimes people do get hit hard. The businesses, they go bankrupt, whatever it might be.
But a new company comes up,
exactly, something that puts them out of business. Yeah, exactly. So I would say that more or less is like, rug pull territory. But, overall, just like Decentraland or Sandbox, I would say if they were to go out of business, that necessarily wouldn't be a rug pull. That would just be more or less like service going down. And you could probably just go somewhere else to kind of figure out how to go. For instance, like if YouTube were to go down, you still have Vimeo, you still have Instagram, you still have Facebook,
But what happens to your property? You got land in there.
It's going to definitely go down in value.
Yeah, it will. That is true.
The funny thing is that, it's not going to go out of business in the same sense of like, a real world business. Like if, Toys R Us goes out of business, they shut down the stores, they strip off the stands. I think the Decentraland will always be able to run. But whether they implement, whether they're still like progressing the business and implementing new things and, talking to the people, that's the area where I think they'll go out of business. So then, because they're not implementing those new things and things like that, then the value of your NFT is going to go down, or the value of the cryptocurrency is going to go down, the mana token.
Yep.
So that's a risk.
It is
Yeah.
risky.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and that's
But
why I say
yeah.
you have to do your research. You have to go into
Yeah.
the Discords. You have to read the white paper. A lot of people don't read the white papers. They
That's
just,
true.
they look at the Twitter followers, and that's enough for
Mhm.
them. Hey, I'm diving in. Nah, that's not enough. You can buy Twitter followers. You have to
Yep, you
read the
sure
white
can.
papers, see what they're providing, look at the roadmap, make sure that the people that founded it, the creators, the devs, are people that you can actually go and find their profiles, LinkedIn
Yep.
level.
Absolutely.
So then
Yeah.
like, okay, this is legit. This is
Yeah.
this is legit. They have a plan. They're going places, and then
Yeah.
that's what you're participating in.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah,
want to just FOMO
absolutely.
your money into anything.
Yeah, because the utility at the end of the day, like Days always tells me, and like we always tell our viewers too, utility is going to be one of the most, if not the most important aspect of getting into any project. And if you go into and it's a lot of way to basically falsify things. Just like, we live in an age where, everybody loves clout. Everybody loves to look like they're famous, they're doing something, whatever it might be. And a lot of people, what they'll do to kind of falsify this is they might buy followers, they might buy shadows, they might do whatever, they can to really seem like they're doing more than what it is. But if you really go down to like, how to look into different things, for instance, right? If you're looking at a project, let's say they have, just a quick example. Let's say you look at an NFT project or something, you say, oh, okay, they have 100,000 followers, but then like on Twitter, for instance, but then you go into their Twitter and, they tweet something they tweet very regularly. And let's say, for instance, they tweet very regularly and they get like 2 retweets, 2 likes. It's like, okay, that's weird. Or you go into the Discord and nobody's really talking, nobody's discussing. If you try to contact the devs, they don't really have an idea. They don't even reach back out to you. That's really shady stuff. And I wouldn't say put your money into that. And that goes back into the doing your own due diligence, because anybody can really write a white paper, and that white paper doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be picture perfect of how the project is going to run, how everything's going to go, smoothly. So yeah,
on that note, there are also like, right, if you're not that well versed in this stuff, and you could look at the white paper, you could try to look at the tokenomics, but you don't really understand it. There are websites out there that can help you with that stuff, like Rug Doctor, Token Sniffer, to make sure that the cryptocurrency is attached with projects and stuff like that, and the contracts attached with NFTs are on the up and up, so that you stay safe before you buy these things, for sure. And also things like, if you're gonna buy an NFT from OpenSea, if you're that scared, only buy things with blue check marks. Only buy things that have, the OpenSea stamp of approval. Taking, precautions like that, for sure. And when you get to the risky place where, you're just NFT gambling, you're gambling on this stuff, and you're like, I'm gonna buy this. Like, I see all the time. You buy something, you wait, you buy something that day, get a mint, wait till it gets to the top, and just sell it all. And people do it all the time, for sure. It happens every single day. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. NFT will mint today. People will buy 20 of them, sell them all once they get to its highest point. It's regular. It's pump and dumps.
So what is your take? There's so many different metaverse worlds. And you have different functions. You mentioned Meta. What is it? Horizons, their world. You've got Verbella Frames. I teach classes. Once the pandemic hit, I was teaching classes in 2020 in Verbella Frames. I was using that it's a virtual platform. Then there's Spatial, which was more of a workplace platform, and they're pivoting to. They still have a workplace base, but they're pivoting to be a gallery for NFTs, where you can show your NFTs in the metaverse rooms and things. So you've got all of these different worlds. Do you think some of them do you think there's going to be a convergence, or do you think there's going to be really the bigger sharks or the bigger fish are going to eat the smaller fish, or what are your thoughts on the environment of the metaverse?
On my end, I think that there's definitely 2 things that I've thought about, and I think about that quite often. I think there's 2 things. I think there's one, the first mover's advantage. I think a lot of the companies that are getting in and really building up, like the Decentraland or Sandbox, those are going to be well established, well into the future, similar to how we see in Coinbase, similar to how we see Binance, kind of really take off. Of course, there's Mt. Gox back in the day for crypto. We saw Poloniex, we saw KuCoin, a lot of these different ones. But a lot of the big first movers that really got a lot of the funding, they got everything that they needed to, dealt with, and they really made sure that they provided some type of utility to the investors and customers. Those are the ones that did well. So I think that'll definitely be happening, and we'll see that for any type of company that is kind of getting in now and really just building themselves up. Of course, Decentraland and Sandbox are kind of doing that first, but even too. The second point of that I think will happen is, similar to how we see on social media, right? We have so many different social media platforms we use: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Even if we go back further, we have MySpace, stuff like that. And I think that a lot of the companies that really gain a lot of following, whether it's a cult following or just a genuine following, and a lot of people say, hey, I really like using this platform, I think these will continue to grow. And they'll say, hey, I noticed that, this is, somewhat going out of business. So I will, kind of take over you guys, similar to how Facebook was able to take over Instagram and buy them out. Or, maybe even some companies might say, hey, I'm going to stick around. I'm not going to take the buyout, similar to how Snapchat rejected Facebook's offer. So I think we'll see, a little bit of both, just how we see in the regular world with general companies and, everything else. But overall, I just think that, when we do get into the metaverse and everything that's going on, it's just going to basically be, who's able to really provide the most value to the customers, more than it's just like, I'm the biggest company, I have the most money, you didn't get here before me, and, you're not really going to be able to grow. Because I do think this is, like I said already, a new space where, not everybody's even knowing, not everybody knows about what NFTs or even the metaverse is. And just in general, too, not everybody's invested, even if they do know what it is. So, yeah.
If you're talking about like conversions, are you saying like being able to be on the Decentraland and go into Sandbox or something?
No, I mean, there'll be some acquisitions, companies coming in, buying other companies up, and kind of the consolidation of different because we've got so many different worlds and things going on.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think, at the end of the day, this is the internet, right? So having a monopoly is probably not going to happen, right? But yeah, for sure. Like when you look at Facebook making their stance now to be Meta, they're doing it for a reason, because they want to have a stronghold on, Metaverse and the technology. They're coming out with the glasses, and all that kind of stuff. Oculus is starting to their sales are starting to roar. But there's a lot of companies that make virtual reality glasses. But at the end of the day, because this is the internet, with any businesses, yeah, like, I mean, even if let's say Facebook bought up Sandbox, they bought up Decentraland, they bought up the top 5 spaces, I don't think it's gonna really change anything, because not every platform can provide everything, right?
Nope.
If you're going into a virtual world to shop, if you're going into a virtual world to play games, if you're going into a virtual world for a certain aesthetic, there's a lot of different reasons to join different platforms. Just like, there's going to be a lot of different reasons to join certain metaverses. From what I can see, most metaverses, they're trying to find their own uniqueness to it. What makes them unique, and that's really the only way you're going to stand the test of time is if you're unique. So I think there's going to be a lot more players in the game, and they're all going to have their unique spin on it of what they provide in each world.
Okay. What about Apple? Apple's the largest company in the world.
They're coming out with glasses too,
and they've got a ton of money.
They do have a ton of money.
And Microsoft is a far second.
Microsoft just bought up Activision because they want to take a plunge into the metaverse. So
they did.
So when I was thinking about that, and then there's jokes about Apple being the iPhone company. Instead of calling it Apple, call it iPhone, because most of their sales are coming from the iPhone. Right?
That is absolutely true. Yeah.
And I was thinking about this today, leading up to this. Okay, you've got sales, you've got your product, it's driving your sales. Eventually, it's going to mature.
Yep.
So what next?
I would say, in my opinion, for a lot of these well-established companies, Facebook is a little different, because Facebook has always been like an online company. Facebook has necessarily never sold a product like an iPhone or anything like that. They've always been like a social media network, so that's different for them. But for like an Apple, right? I think that Apple is for sure going to get into the metaverse, but to the extent of which we might see Facebook getting into it, or Microsoft, or even possibly, let's say, Google or something like that, I don't think that's going to happen, right away, or even, well within like 10 years, 15 years, because Apple, they already make so much money off of the iPhones. They already make so much money off of the laptops. They're already making so much money off of the different chips that they're selling out. And they're even looking to build their own Apple Car. And when you think about what Apple's already doing, because they already have such a structure that's set up in this, Apple's been around for ages now. And not really, but, relatively speaking, they've been around a lot longer than a good amount of companies. And because of this, when you think about what Apple has already done and all the people who are, heavily invested into Apple, a lot of these people that are giving Apple money or invested into it, they're not going to say, okay, yeah, we're well behind you if you guys just deviate from the norm and go straight into the metaverse and just start building up the metaverse. Like for Facebook, they can do that. They can afford that luxury because they're already an online company. So the next idea is, okay, how can we continue to grow online? How can we continue to progress and keep our edge online? Oh, the metaverse is next. Apple, you can't say, hey, how can we continue to build the better smartphones of the world, the better laptops of the world, the better chips of the world? You can't say, okay, well, now we're moving into the metaverse online. I don't think that's necessarily the next move for Apple, or for even like for Tesla, right? Tesla's another company. I don't think they will necessarily get into the metaverse because that's just not their gameplay. That's not how they're really going to make their money.
Apple's a little different. I would say the first thing they'll do probably is make like an Apple wallet for cryptocurrencies. I think that would be their first step before they go into metaverse. They have to take that step first.
Easily.
Okay. Well, you said Tesla. I'm hearing a lot of Tesla. And from what I understand, the big priority is to build a robot. So you said they're not going to, it's like, there's the Tesla robot is a big priority.
When you think about Tesla, like not even, I wouldn't say just Tesla. Because at the end of the day, the top of the company is going to be led, like, unlike, other companies, for instance,
the Neuralink, the Neuralink
team. Yeah, the Neuralink. Unlike other companies where they might have a team of people, companies like Apple, when they had Steve Jobs, or, companies like Tesla, how they have Elon Musk, those are going to be spearheaded by whoever's at the top, the geniuses at the top. And I think Elon Musk, he is getting into a lot of different things, whether it's Neuralink, whether it's, SpaceX, whether it's Tesla, whether it's the Boring Company and building the underground tunnels to be able to go from New York to LA in less than an hour, things like that. But a lot of these different companies is still, like I said, I don't believe that they can necessarily get into the metaverse because they've already built such a foundation of providing some real world use case. Not saying the metaverse isn't real world, but I'm talking about offering physical products, physical services to their customers and just deviating from that norm. Customers are going to start saying, okay, well, if you're not doing it, well, let me go to your competitor who is going to provide me this value. And, if you see a lot of these companies, they've literally been getting more and more value recently before this entire decline in the markets. For instance, with Apple, they are the most valuable company in the world. And, now it's just like, if they were to deviate from that norm, do they really get their value from the metaverse, especially in such a new and burgeoning space? I don't really think so. Of course it could happen. They have plenty of money, plenty of team, plenty of people that they can put onto that job. But that's just, like I said, such a developing space. That's just, why go with something that could be when you have something that will be. So, yeah.
But we got a question. Shook Focus Digital says Zuckerberg's concept of the phone just being an extension of yourself in the metaverse. You think Apple will take a shot at building that technology?
I think definitely, for sure, because, when I heard they were coming out with the Apple Car, I realized that they're really trying, like, they're even coming out with like Apple Home. Like they really want to make Apple like an all-purpose, utility for your life. So it only makes sense that if you go into a virtual world, you go into the metaverse, they'd want you to use, their technology. So I wouldn't say that it wouldn't happen, but I don't think that's their first, that's not their first, main mission. Because, like Frank said, Facebook is an internet company that, it'd be smart for them to get into this kind of stuff. But Apple themselves, like, I think they're focusing on the cars, the home, all the appliances first, make it so that it's a product that you can't live without before they get into the online, realm. And then when they do get in the online realm, I think they're going to start with, like, having a Facebook wallet, cryptocurrencies, being able to exchange them and all that kind of stuff first.
For me, on my end, to be honest, I would say I'm a little confused about this question. I'll be a little confused about this question because I kind of get on one end, I kind of get where they're getting at, but then on the other end, it's just like, with the phone being an extension of yourself in the metaverse, and then Apple taking a shot at building that technology. Well, Apple isn't building a technology for you to be able to get into the metaverse, to begin with. Like I said, they're already building iPhones, they're building laptops. This has nothing at all to do with the metaverse. They're just trying to provide the best service possible for you to be able to say, hey, not even say, hey, we already have I wouldn't say a status quo, but it's already a thing. Whereas if you pretty much don't have an iPhone, not saying people don't look down at you, but people look at people with Androids funny. And it's just that's already kind of the thing that Apple's kind of capitalizing off of. You have to have, the iPhone, you have to have the Apple Watch, you have to have the AirPods, all these different things. Exactly. Got to have the Mac. And I don't really think that, getting into the metaverse, like I said, is their first priority, because they've already established themselves as a company where we provide physical products and we provide physical services. So if they're saying, hey, we're going to continue capitalizing off of that until pretty much everybody on earth is, using Apple products, that's a different story. But getting into the metaverse, like I said, maybe they will get into it. Maybe. I couldn't say for sure.
It's not comparable, because the things that Facebook is doing to further the space, I don't think Apple's willing to put the work in to further the space of the metaverse. I think they're just going to want to, just go in once it's built.
Yeah.
Facebook is putting so much money. They're coming out with the haptic feedback gloves. They're making the glasses. They're doing so many tests. If you watched Mark Zuckerberg's, introduction to Meta, and you see all the things that they're trying to do and trying to implement, they're going full force into it. And I don't think, because I think he knows in the back of his mind, there's only so far that a social media company can go, and that they need to get a stronghold on the next version of social media, which will be Web3 and the metaverse. And I don't think Apple's going to want to just, plant their seeds once the garden is already there. They're going to just take their little section.
See, that's good. I think Apple, they're looking forward. A lot of their sales are coming from that iPhone, and it's going to mature. And things are going to essentially saturate. So either they're going to have to move to other markets. So you think about Netflix. Netflix is saturated in the US.
Yeah.
So they're moving to other markets. They're changing their model. They're having a lot of content being developed in other countries, developing countries, making
That's
content. True. Squid Game opened up the path for that.
Yeah, it sure did. Yeah.
So I think they have to find another way to maneuver. Microsoft and that Activision deal, I mean, personally, in my opinion, that was a metaverse play.
They even said it was a metaverse play. Yeah. It is. They said it themselves as a metaverse play. Yeah.
But a very, very hard metaverse play. They've got the HoloLens, they've got the cloud, and now they've got this video game infrastructure. So, we got somebody in there. So I think it's interesting. I think there's got to be a move. I think there's going to be a move. So I think Apple will take a shot, how it'll look, if it'll be an acquisition. And they've got the money. They've got the cash.
Yeah, I would say, and this is what I'll say about Apple. Like I already said, I don't think Apple's looking to actively just kind of build out the metaverse. That's not their thing. They have already, they have plenty of money. They don't need to go build it. They can let the other people build it out and just get into it. Like Daisy already said, they can let them build it out. They plant their seeds in the garden once it's done. Now, what Apple could do, with Apple, and this is the unique thing about Apple, because a lot of companies, they have to pretty much go chasing the next big thing to be able to, kind of become great, right? Now, of course, after Steve Jobs died, it was pretty much like once Steve Jobs, or while he was here, when he brought out the different types of iPods, whether it was the Nano, the Touch, the actual iPhone, and just kept upgrading that. That was like the next revolutionary thing. That was the next groundbreaking thing. And of course, once he left, that was a sad day. But, it was pretty much, they were waiting on the consumers to tell them, okay, what do they need next? And the next biggest thing that Apple was really able to come out with that really just, I would say, was kind of groundbreaking was the AirPods, because a lot of people were like, okay, wow, this is something we've never had. This is something we've never really seen. So this is something that's really changing the market. And I think Apple just really needs to wait on, the kind of signal to say, hey, this is what the consumer needs. And I'm sure they'll figure that out. They have plenty of money to be able to figure that out. And once they figure that out, and let's say, for instance, right, if it's dealing with the metaverse and they say, okay, we need to better interface between users going into the metaverse, whether, instead of just logging onto your laptop, what if it's just, a click on your glasses, or, you just tap on your earbuds and boom, you're already in there. Maybe they'll figure that out and say, hey, this is our new product. This is how you get in the metaverse, and boom, that takes Apple to the next level. So I think that's what Apple really, is needing. And, or, when they do need to get into the metaverse, they'll probably figure that out. But, just regular metaverse, building that out, or any type of service that they might provide, that's, a little bit later down the line. So
that's a good point. Innovation. Yep. That was good. And gentlemen, we're almost at time, so I want to be respectful of that. But I do have like a parting question. What is your favorite metaverse platform and why? Mike, let's start with you.
My favorite metaverse platform. Oh, one that's not built out yet. It's actually called Treeverse. They're my favorite right now. I have some Treeverse products that I'm willing to hold until it's fully fleshed out. They're building out a game. They're building out a world. They already started off with having a world where you can showcase your NFT art. You can interact with people. You can do some community stuff. People love this so much that they, and this is where it comes with having a good team, that they decided to, take that money that they got from the project and transform it into a game. And so now, they've upgraded what the game looks like. They're adding a whole like fighting database, but still keeping that community and that metaverse aspect where, you can still showcase your art. You have your apartments and your land and stuff like that. And I think they're going to be a big player in the game. They're definitely going to be one of the biggest players in the game. You can check out their project on OpenSea. They have I think 3 projects: NF Trees, Treeverse Plots, and Timeless Characters. So they came out with their own collection of like NFT profile picture type things, like anime style like art for characters for your skins in the game. So definitely check that out. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Awesome. And last thing, they also have another like side business where they're trying to be the first blockchain production company. So they actually came out with like a short form movie, based off like NFT and blockchain characters and stuff like that. And it's called Interleave, and it's like a blockchain production company. It's dope.
Shook Focus asked you to say the platform again. If you could say it one more time.
It's called Treeverse. 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 Definitely check them out and follow their stuff on Twitter. They're active on Twitter. You can check out their movie on YouTube, and you can follow their Discord. And they're on OpenSea. It's Ethereum based.
Awesome. Frank.
I would say for me, I really don't have a favorite right now. To be honest, maybe I'll go into the metaverse every now and again, but I'm not on regularly like Deja might be. And I do see, the different opportunities that lie with each. For instance, like I already mentioned earlier, and our kind of talk and discussion, you can go into certain metaverses and you can see concerts happening. You can go into certain metaverses and you just interact with people there. I've gone into the metaverse with Deja, and I've seen horse racing. You can go better on the horse racing in the metaverse. And even away from that, like if we saw the meta, Facebook's meta, at the actual like metaverse, they were talking about how you can go into the metaverse and you can have meetings with people. You can go shopping, you can go visit, different things like that. And it's just, I think a lot of these different metaverses have a lot of different things that they can offer. And really, like Deja already said too, they're trying to figure out a unique way that they can position themselves to be able to say, hey, this is how we're going to counter our end of the market and really make a name for ourselves. And for me personally, I haven't really found anything that I necessarily like and really say, okay, hey, this is, my favorite platform. I definitely see the value in each of them. And honestly, I'm definitely planning on buying some Decentraland property very, very soon. But that's not to say it's my favorite, but I'm just looking at the different options right now. And, I would say I like Decentraland, Sandbox. I'm using those two the most, of course. But, other than that, no real favorite, to be honest. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, so that's good. That's good. My favorite platform is Spatial.
Okay.
And it's free platform. You can go in there. Initially, it had and it still does have an enterprise focus. So you can get in there. It's a meeting space. What's neat is that it scans you, so it creates kind of like the Horizon, an avatar with your face, and you can put your shirt on it, so it looks very realistic, in my opinion. And they have a feature called the brainstorming room. So you can go in there, you can pull up web pages, you can have sticky notes. So for me as an educator, I can have students in there. And we can engage, and we can have some discussion, and I could teach in there. So I really like that. It's a tighter space than Verbella. So Verbella Frames, you can do the same thing, but it has huge halls and large spaces. But this is very compact. So it's like you're in a smaller room. So
I kind of like Spatial because they like I was saying earlier, you got to pick your niche of what you're willing to do and what you're willing to allow. And they got the real world look. The more I think more people will be able to ease into the look of it and get the idea of it. And they allow there are some metaverse spaces that don't really coincide with blockchain, but at least Spatial, like, you could still hook up with like a MetaMask. So it implements some Web3 into it. So I do like that.
And you can access it on your phone and on your computer pretty easily. Go ahead, Frank.
Oh, I was going to say, do you have to go soon, Professor? Because if not, I do actually have a couple questions for you.
Okay, what's the question?
Well, actually, I have 3 questions. So my first question, or I'll give a little bit of kind of background to the viewers as well. When you trade options, or for instance, if you're selling stock, right, you automatically have to pay capital gains taxes. Now, as you get into the age of the metaverse and things of that nature, how do you think that the taxes will evolve according to that? Or do you think that we will be taxed extra according to when we get into the metaverse, when we are buying things in the metaverse? Or will it just be kind of like you bought it in the metaverse, you get taxed the same as you would in real life? Or if you bought something in the metaverse, you would be pretty much taxed the same? Or would you be additionally taxed? Or would there be some type of extra taxation?
Are you talking from a personal perspective, or is a business holding this, or is this an individual?
Let's just say an individual perspective. No, we're not going to get to the business. Let's just say an individual perspective right now.
Well, that's a good question. I would say it's looked at more like Forex. So I say it's looked at more like Forex, and you would either have some type of capital gain. You would have some type of capital gain because you're holding an asset. You're selling these. You'd have some type of capital gain.
Absolutely. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Definitely. And now my second thing that I'll ask you now, it's definitely in the realm of accounting, but I would say as the metaverse develops, right? Of course, there's a lot of speculation going on of, are people money laundering with NFTs? Are they using, different types of cryptocurrencies to be able to launder their money? As the metaverse kind of develops, and as we're able to build up digital spaces, not necessarily in an anonymous fashion, but you are able to build like some type of digital profile where it's not directly linked to who you actually are, away from like, you yourself using it. Do you think that's there's going to be more people trying to, I would say, on the I don't want to say evil, but more people on like the negative side of things, trying to get in and trying to figure out a way to kind of cheat the system and say, hey, I can make my money, I can put it in here, and not only can I put it in here, I can get away relatively clean and not have to worry about any repercussions, whether that's with the government, whether it's with taxes, whether it's with any type of income type of situation.
Well, I mean, already right now it's kind of the wild, wild west because it's not regulated. So when you talk about publicly traded, so that goes back to that going concern point we were talking about. If you got a publicly traded company, I mean, they've got to have their financials audited. They've got to file a 10K. So and in their initial registration, they have to file the S1. So they have to go through a whole process of due diligence and disclosure. So you have a lot of things that are being disclosed as well. Then when you talk about broker dealers and you're doing trades, you're buying and selling stocks, this is reported. It's registered.
Definitely. This is also why is this why you asked that offshore question too earlier?
Well, it's tied to that because you have to think about, really, I'll go deep into that. One, I was looking into working on a research project.
Okay.
On the metaverse with another professor. And that professor, the first question, we were talking about the sandbox. We were talking about, well, okay, let's pull up the financials. I can't get the financials. It's not public. It's not a publicly traded company. And from what I remember, the sandbox is not located in the US, if I'm not mistaken. So you can't get that information. So that ties into, so if the sandbox is making money or not making money, only the sandbox knows that information. I'm not able to find that out. Now to Dave's point, you can read the white paper, but there's no regulation or law that there's nothing there to kind of enforce. There's no enforcement.
Well, I kind of get that, but at the same, I do have to give just a bit of pushback because let's say, for instance, right?
That's good.
If I am buying, let's say, for instance, I buy a sandbox property, I sell it. Now, if I keep it on the Sandbox platform or something, of course, if Sandbox is within the U.S., it's whatever country's regulations, whatever the taxation laws is, I have to adhere to those. But if let's say, for instance, I have my MetaMask linked and I'm transferring that Ethereum or whatever, the coin is that I sold it off back into my Coinbase wallet, back into whatever wallet that I'm using. If you signed up as a U.S. resident and you're using cryptocurrency in the U.S. with whatever wallet you have, they automatically have your data. They automatically have your purchase history. They automatically know what you're buying and selling in terms of your income and stuff. So you do have to, kind of pay taxes on that. So I don't think that, it's just going to be completely vague as to, okay, who bought this, who sold this, because they're going to know, and they're definitely going to get taxed on that in terms of, crypto or not just crypto gains, but capital gains in terms of, buying and selling, whether it be in the metaverse, if you're bringing it back to your traditional wallet. But yeah, on the other hand too, what I do think is kind of unique about the whole situation is that when you do see all these people kind of going into the metaverse as well, there is a kind of, it's a whole scenario where it's like, I can go into the metaverse and I can go deal with someone else and I can transact with them. That might not necessarily be seen, in terms of, okay, what's going on in terms of this dealing? Like let's say, for instance, if Days were in China, right? If Days were in China and, I don't know, let's say I was in the Bahamas or something, or let's just say I was back in the US and, I say, hey, Days, I want to buy a property. I want to buy a sandbox property. I go do that deal. We kind of transact, but that transaction isn't necessarily registering because I didn't send that money back to my Coinbase wallet or something. I think that's where we start to see, okay, what's really going on with the money, who's being taxed. That's where we kind of see more of the wild west. But people do have to cash out eventually, of course. And I think that's when people, they'll have to show that on the taxes.
Yeah, but when you're talking about if we're talking about regulation, you're talking about 1099 dividend, which have to be sent out. There's regulations around that. The other thing is with the sandbox, or you talk about Tesla, I can go and pull up, we can go to Edgar, we can pull up Tesla's 10K.
Yep,
we know who the CEO, we know their address, we know where they're registered, we know who's running the company. Who's in charge of Sandbox?
Great question.
See, that's the thing. Some companies are willing, and that's why I tell people, we tell people that follow us that you probably shouldn't. It's not in your best interest to get in a project where they don't have their creators and CEOs and all that fully doxed, and who they are. You have their main profiles and all that kind of stuff. You probably shouldn't get into that. But I see what I kind of see what you're saying. I kind of see what Frank is saying. I think when it comes to a retail investor, you're safe when it comes to the fact that it's on the blockchain, right? So if a company says, okay, we make 2.5% off of every sale of our land, then you could be sure that that's going to be implemented through the smart contracts. Like I said, if you can't read smart contracts yourself, you can go to a website like Rug Doctor or Token Sniffer to make sure that the stuff is on the up and up, the contracts are on the up and up, and all that kind of stuff. But then you are definitely right. The government can't really audit what they're doing. I don't believe they can't really audit the company itself, but the retail investors can make sure they're safe to go through the contracts.
Well, and when you said safe, there's another thing. There's no FDIC, there's no SIPC that you have on investment products with crypto, or
Very
so.
true.
But what's the third question? That was good.
My third question would more or less be, when people are getting into the metaverse, right? When we think about, I think it's the old adage when people talk about, a lot of people, when California went into its gold rush, and in general, people thought a lot of money was with the gold, finding the gold, mining the gold. But a lot of the people who really made a good amount of money were the people who were providing the pickaxes, a lot of people who were providing the equipment. So on your end, do you think that, for instance, in terms of accounting or just in general, do you think it would be wise for people to continue to invest in, NFTs, or look to invest in NFTs, or even from the accounting perspective, like I said, do you think that would be wise for them to kind of learn more about the accounting, kind of sphere as it pertains to NFTs, as it pertains to the metaverse, as we kind of get into it? Because this is a new space. Like, if we think about taxation laws, accounting as it applies to traditional assets, as it applies to traditional investing and stuff like that, we kind of know how it goes. When it's tax season, people go to their tax person, they get that handled. But if they start investing in crypto, if they start investing in NFTs in the metaverse, that's an entirely new space. That's entirely new laws, regulation. And there's a lot of stuff that we don't even know. So do you think this is a, potential opportunity for a lot of people to be able to say, okay, this is where I can grow. This is where I can learn. This is where the profession can get taken to the next level? Or is this just this place where it's just like, okay, maybe we might want to see what happens with this first before we kind of get into this. Maybe we might want to see what happens with everything going on within the metaverse with NFTs before we really say, okay, this needs our stamp of approval. This needs our expertise with it.
Yeah, I kind of get two questions out of that one, because I think you talked about the accounting portion of it. So in the U.S., we have something called GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, right? Those are the rules and regulations for accounting in the U.S. and they're what are known as rules, or they call standards that are issued. So right now, you're absolutely correct. And the reason I was asking that question is this personal or business, you've got more what we call guidance, or more standard on business versus personal. However, even with that stated, because as you said, this is new and evolving. So that's the other thing, it's evolving at such a rapid pace. The standards, they're not matching up with the actual environment that we have right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
The standards haven't caught up, and it doesn't look like they will catch up. So most of the standards, so if you look on the standards on business, it's around Bitcoin, right? It's really around Bitcoin. And so from there, the guidance, you move off of that guidance, which is around Bitcoin, on your treatment of cryptocurrency, and then you move into NFTs and things like that. So, So on that side of it, to say that accounting is still catching up with a lot of this, it's not up to date, right?
Okay.
Now, and because of that, I think it's very important for everyone to learn as much as possible about crypto, about NFTs, about this space. To learn as much as possible you can. Even if, because you got to think about it. You've got some people who are nervous about it, who are worried about it. Some people are looking at the news. Oh my gosh, Bitcoin dropped 50%. I'm afraid of crypto. So you have some people that are worried about it. However, you're still impacted by it in some way, either directly or indirectly. You're living in the world. You should at least learn about it and understand it. So that's my even if you're not going to invest, you need to understand this.
That's a great point. That's a really great point.
That's definitely what I tell people.
So, and especially when you look at businesses that are moving into this area. The other time we were on the live stream with Underdog Crypto, he made a point that I didn't think about it, but he was like, okay, so my first book is called the Hitchhiker's Guide to Virtual Reality. And it's about implementing and using virtual reality in the classroom. And he made a point, and he was absolutely right. That when I wrote the book, people were like, well, what is virtual or the metaverse? Why is this important? Why does it matter? Right? But now when Mark Zuckerberg came in and said, hey, we're changing the name to Meta, I was like, yes. right? So it's important to learn about it, especially from my space as a professor. And where I'm going with that is my job isn't to prepare my students for today's world, right? So if I've got a freshman, right, he or she's going to graduate in 4 years. The world is going to be totally different. Think about how things were 4 years before, right?
Yeah.
So in 4 years from, it's totally different. I've got to prep them for the rules. Like, I was like, yeah, I was like, yes. But yeah, I'm preparing them for the world moving forward. Same thing. If you were asking about if someone should learn about it, yeah, this thing is moving rapidly, right? Rapidly. And you need to learn about it, whether you're in it or not.
Yep. And the only reason I asked that kind of final question about learning about it is because there's always going to be the haters, there's always going to be the degenerate people trying to just kind of slander it. And, a lot of people, if you kind of go onto the, internet, whether it just be regular traditional social media, whether you just go on different forums, whether it be the news, blogs and stuff like that, they either poke fun at, NFTs, the metaverse, cryptocurrency, or they're just kind of, saying, oh, this is a terrible investment. Look how volatile it is. Look, at everything that's going on. And I think that when people are kind of making fun of it, they're kind of, those same people who, when it gets too late, they're like, well, damn, I wish I could have invested into this, way earlier. I wish I got into this at the ground floor, but it's just like, you guys were, speaking down on it so early, you said, oh, you never get into it. It's a scam. This is just a waste of time. It's just, a miracle if you make any money with it. But the reality is a lot of the big companies, as we already discussed so far, a lot of the big companies are already putting their money into this. They're already developing the space, and there's already a good amount of legitimacy within the space. But, there's so many people who just really, I can't tell you why, but they don't see the value in the space. And I don't understand it personally, but I do think that they should learn about it. I do think that they should, figure out a way to kind of get involved with it, whether or not if it does have to be investing in it, finding a profession that might deal directly or indirectly with it. So, yeah.
I mean, there's not an excuse for ignorance. I guess that's kind of a hard way to say it, but I mean, it's important to to know what's going on. There's there's a rule where they talk about technology. It's a 20, now I can't think of the name of the rule, but at one point it took 10 years to develop something and then 10 years for it to be implemented. So it would take a total of 20 years, which is, many people consider that a generation, right?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
So let's say you got it took 10 years to develop the TV, the black and white TV, 10 years for it to be widely adopted and everyone using it. So that's 20 years. Then Absolutely. 10 years to develop the color TV, then another 10 years for it to be widely adopted, right? So that's 20 years, so it's a generation.
Yeah.
But my understanding of things today in technology, it's a cycle of 12 months because based on processing speed and things, it's 18 months, 12 months, right? So now, and when I was discussing this, someone was saying the cycle is 6 months, 6 months. It can move from 6 to 6 months. So,
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in the cryptocurrency NFT space. I'll give you a hint. Definitely look out for AI NFTs, artificial intelligence
Oh,
NFTs.
the AI
That's
NFTs.
gonna be the next one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a good point. So with knowing how rapidly things are going and changing, it's important that you understand. Now, are you going to be able to absorb and know everything? No, probably not, but you need to know something, right? You
Yeah.
need to have some type of basic awareness. That is my opinion. And that would be my take on that.
Yeah.
That was good. Those are some good questions. Before we go, how can they reach you? You can tell how can they get in touch with you? How can reach you?
So you can reach us obviously at Cobbs Capital. You can follow us on YouTube. If you go to our YouTube, you could definitely see our Discord link. You can join the Discord. Me personally, you could definitely follow me on Twitter at Days of Beats. I'm also a producer as well. I produce music. I make music. So you can follow me on Twitter at Days of Beats. I mostly just do all type of. I just research all type of crypto content and NFT content. And then you can also, if you do like music and stuff, you can check me out on YouTube at Days of Beats on YouTube, and Instagram as well. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube.
Yep.
Awesome.
So yeah, we be giving it up in the content Discord. We be having conversations,
definitely
talking about stuff. So if you want to learn more about that stuff, you can definitely join the conversation.
Yeah, for sure. And just to kind of add on top, Daisy already said, if you go to any of our YouTube videos, you can find our Discord link to join up. We're discussing NFTs, crypto, stocks. Like I said, I trade stocks every day. I trade options every day. We're talking about all that, all the time. You can find me on Twitter. Personally, you can find me on Twitter at ITS Frank Cobbs, COBBS, like Cobbs Capital. You can also find me, the actual brand itself, me and Deja. We can find at Cobbs Capital on Twitter. That's where we are. And, other than that, we do have TikTok as well, where we kind of post stuff as well. That'll be under It's Frank Cobbs as well. We were going to change that soon. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Where you can find us, we're just posting content all the time. We're just trying to grow, trying to get the word out, and just about, getting people more invested, getting people more in tune, because at the end of the
most
day,
fun's in the Discord for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
The value in the Discord.
It is.
Well, Deza, Frank, thank you so much. And everybody who's watching, thank you so much. I mean, we've been having some good comments in the chat, so I appreciate that. Oh, wait a minute. Ha, we got Underdog Crypto here. Ha. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And we got something coming with the Crypto Intelligence Committee, hopefully next week. So that'll be good. So,
okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
So you got to stop by. Thanks, Underdog, for stopping by. And we're going to sign out. Thank you, everybody.
Definitely. Yep. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Thanks for having us, Professor.
Absolutely.